It began on a crisp autumn morning, the kind where the sunlight filters through the amber leaves and paints the world in shades of gold and red. Samantha Reed, or Sam as everyone called her, was walking to school, her bag slung casually over one shoulder. Her headphones blared her favorite tunes, drowning out the chatter of the world around her. For Sam, it was just another ordinary day in the sleepy town of Willow Creek. She had no idea that her life was about to become anything but ordinary. At the edge of the woods that bordered the town, something shimmered in the morning light. Sam might have missed it entirely if it weren't for a peculiar hum that cut through the melody in her ears. She stopped, tugged out her earbuds, and turned toward the sound. A faint, metallic glow flickered among the trees, and curiosity got the better of her. She stepped off the sidewalk and ventured into the woods. What she found was beyond anything she could have imagined. A sleek, silvery craft, no bigger than a van, rested awkwardly among the trees. Smoke curled from its sides, and the hum she'd heard earlier had softened to a rhythmic pulse. Her heart pounded as she approached, each step feeling like it carried her further from reality. This was the stuff of movies, not real life. But here it was, undeniable and surreal. A sudden hiss made her jump back. A panel on the side of the craft slid open, and a figure emerged. It wasn't what she expected, no green skin, no antennae. Instead, the figure looked almost human, though there was an otherworldly quality to them. Their skin had a faint, opalescent sheen, and their eyes were larger than any human's, glowing faintly with a pale blue light. They wore a form-fitting suit that seemed to ripple and shift colors, adapting to the environment around them. The alien, for that's what Sam decided they must be, stumbled slightly as they stepped out of the craft. They looked at her, their expression unreadable, and spoke in a language that sounded like a melody played backward. Sam froze, her mind racing. Should she run? Call for help? But then the alien's expression changed, a flicker of what looked like desperation crossing their features. They raised their hands, palms out, in what she recognized as a universal gesture of peace. Hi. Sam ventured cautiously. Do you understand me? The alien tilted their head, then tapped a device on their wrist. There was a brief burst of static, and then their melodic speech transformed into something intelligible. I mean no harm, they said. Their voice was smooth, almost musical, and carried an accent that didn't quite belong to any earthly language. My name is Kael. I require assistance. Sam blinked. This had to be a dream, right? But the earnest look in Kael's glowing eyes and the undeniable reality of the ship behind them suggested otherwise. Assistance with what? She asked, her voice shaky. Kael glanced back at their damaged craft. My ship is inoperative. I must blend into your society while I make repairs. They hesitated, then added, Can you help me? Sam stared at them, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts. Helping an alien? This was insane. But then she thought about how desperate they seemed and how, against all odds, they'd chosen her to ask for help. Maybe it was fate, or maybe she just couldn't resist the allure of an adventure. Either way, she found herself nodding. Okay, she said. But if you're going to blend in, we've got to make you less alien. Kael's expression was unreadable, but they nodded. I am willing to adapt. The first challenge was Kael's appearance. While their general shape was human, their glowing eyes and shimmering skin were a dead giveaway. Sam rummaged through her bag and pulled out a pair of oversized sunglasses and a hoodie. Kael watched her with curiosity as she handed them over. Put these on, she instructed. It'll help you blend in. Kael complied, slipping on the sunglasses and pulling the hoodie over their head. The effect was surprisingly effective. They looked like an eccentric high schooler rather than an extraterrestrial visitor. Now what? Kael asked. Sam hesitated. She couldn't exactly hide an alien in her house, her mom would flip. Then an idea struck her. You'll come to school with me. It's the perfect place to blend in. Tons of people, all kinds of personalities. No one will suspect a thing. Kael raised an eyebrow. School. You'll see, Sam said, feeling a strange mix of excitement and dread. This was going to be interesting. As they walked to Willow Creek High, Sam gave Kael a crash course on human behavior. She explained how to greet people, how to avoid drawing attention, and what not to say. Kael absorbed her lessons with an intensity that was almost unsettling, their glowing eyes peeking out from beneath the sunglasses. When they arrived at school, Sam's heart raced. She introduced Kael as a new student from out of town, using the name Kai. To her surprise, no one questioned it. If anything, Kael's odd behavior was chalked up to being that weird new kid, which, in high school, was hardly unusual. The day unfolded in a series of misadventures. Kael struggled to understand the nuances of human interaction, often taking things too literally or missing the point entirely. In biology class, they corrected the teacher's explanation of cellular mitosis, earning a mix of awe and suspicion from their classmates. At lunch, they examined their food with scientific precision, prompting whispers and giggles from nearby tables. But despite the challenges, Kael's genuine curiosity and earnest demeanor began to win people over. By the end of the day, Sam realized that Kael's biggest strength wasn't their ability to blend in but their willingness to stand out. Over the weeks that followed, Sam and Kael grew closer. She helped them navigate the complexities of high school life, while they shared stories of their homeworld, a place of shimmering skies and cities that floated on clouds. Kael's ship became their secret base, a place where they worked on repairs and shared dreams of the stars. Through Kael, Sam began to see the world differently. Ordinary things, a sunrise, a falling leaf, a kind gesture, took on new meaning when seen through their eyes. And in return, she taught Kael about the beauty and messiness of being human. But their fragile peace was threatened when strange men in black suits began appearing around town, asking questions. Sam and Kael knew they had to be careful. The stakes were higher than ever, and the bond they'd formed would be tested in ways they could never have imagined. As they faced each new challenge together, Sam realized something important: Kael wasn't just an alien trying to fit in. They were a friend, and maybe, just maybe, a reminder that sometimes, the things that make us different are the things that make us extraordinary. The shadow of the men in black suits loomed large over Willow Creek. Their sleek black cars patrolled the outskirts of the woods, and their cold, calculating eyes scanned every passerby with unnerving precision. Sam and Kael knew they had to act quickly before the secret of Kael's existence unraveled entirely. One night, while they were hidden in the depths of the forest beside Kael's damaged craft, Kael made a confession. "My people have always warned us about revealing ourselves to less advanced civilizations," Kael said, their glowing eyes dimmed with worry. "I was reckless to come this close to your kind. And now, it's not just my life at risk, it's yours too." Sam placed a hand on Kael's shoulder. "You didn't plan for this to happen, Kael. And you didn't choose me by accident. We'll figure it out together." Kael looked at her with an expression she now recognized as trust. "If we're going to evade these pursuers, I need to finish repairing my ship. But I lack a crucial component, a crystalline power core. Without it, the craft won't generate enough energy to escape orbit. Where do we find one of those?" Sam asked. Kael hesitated before replying. "There's a small deposit of similar materials in the hills just beyond your town. But it's guarded by your government, what you call a research facility. If we can acquire it without detection, we might stand a chance." Sam gulped. Sneaking into a government facility? This was straight out of an action movie. But the determination in Kael's voice, and the bond they'd formed, left her with no choice. "Let's do it." Late one moonless night, Sam and Kael crept through the perimeter of the research facility. Kael had fashioned a makeshift cloaking device from the craft's remaining technology, masking their movements as a shifting blur in the darkness. Sam carried a map she'd sketched based on Kael's description of the layout he'd gleaned from intercepted signals. The facility buzzed with security measures, motion detectors, cameras, and guards. Kael's alien technology helped them bypass most obstacles, but their luck faltered when they reached the core storage room. A motion sensor caught a flicker of movement, and alarms blared. "Go!" Sam shouted as they grabbed the crystalline core from its containment unit. Guards poured into the corridor, shouting orders, but Kael's cloaking device gave them just enough cover to slip past unseen. They bolted into the woods, the sound of pursuing vehicles close behind. Sam's lungs burned as she ran, but Kael's grip on her arm kept her grounded. They reached the craft just as the black-suited agents closed in. "Can you finish the repairs?" Sam asked, panting. Kael nodded. "It'll be close, but yes." As Kael worked with frantic precision, the agents surrounded the clearing. A voice boomed from a megaphone. "Step away from the craft. This is your final warning." Sam's heart raced. She couldn't let them take Kael. Thinking quickly, she grabbed a rock and hurled it into the bushes. The noise distracted the agents, drawing them toward the wrong direction. It wasn't much, but it bought Kael enough time. The ship roared to life, its hum growing into a crescendo of light and sound. Kael turned to Sam, their eyes glowing brighter than ever. "You've done more for me than I could have asked. I won't forget you." Sam felt a lump in her throat. "Don't be a stranger, okay?" Kael reached out, clasping her hand briefly. "Our paths will cross again. I promise." With that, they stepped into the craft. The ship lifted off, its light blinding as it shot into the sky, leaving behind a trail of shimmering particles. The agents rushed into the clearing, but it was too late. Kael was gone. In the days that followed, life in Willow Creek returned to normal, or as normal as it could be. The agents eventually left, chalking up the strange events to a hoax. Sam missed Kael, but she carried their promise in her heart. One crisp autumn evening, weeks after Kael's departure, Sam sat on her porch, staring up at the stars. She thought about everything she'd learned and how Kael had changed her perspective on the universe, and herself. Just as she was about to head inside, a faint hum filled the air. She looked up to see a streak of silvery light flash across the night sky. It was brief, but unmistakable. Sam smiled. Somewhere out there, Kael was keeping their promise. And so, the girl from the sleepy town of Willow Creek became part of a story far larger than she'd ever imagined, a story of friendship, courage, and the boundless wonder of the stars.